Mayo and Citgo, there at every turn.
Watching the political campaign, you'd think the candidates can perform magic, that everything in our lives depends on them. The politicians are going to give us great free health care. They're going to fix the economy, the education system, lower gas prices. But they can't do those things.
Voters would have to believe that every politician is some sort of combination of Superman, Santa Claus, and Mother Teresa. And why are we continually disappointed in presidents? Because they couldn't possibly live up to the powers and the faith that we're investing in them.
Take the promise of energy independence. Every president since Nixon said he would end
this intolerable
excessive dependence on
foreign energy sources.
They promise
and bring us closer to energy
independence for our country
by 1980.
By 1985.
In 10 years.
By the year 2025.
But today, America is no closer to independence than we were when...
Well, I'm not a crook.
Nixon was president.
I promise you.
Politicians tell us what we want to hear, and we do want to believe.
It's kind of an instinctive reaction. Government should do more on health care. Government should do more for children. But a president can't fix all the problems in your life.
God bless you! God bless you!
It's like that movie Dave, where the president is a bad, selfish man who's then replaced by a look-alike who's good.
The good guy replaces the bad president, and he just calls in an accountant, and they sit down and balance the budget and get everybody a job.
I forgot that I was hired to do a job for you.
If the president were a good man, he'd get everybody a job. I saw it in the movie.
Create more and better jobs
that pay well and can't be outsourced.
But presidents don't create jobs. Entrepreneurs do, often without any government involvement, without politicians ordering anyone about. In fact, most of life works best when you are in charge. Here's a thought experiment. Consider a skating rink.
Imagine telling someone who'd never been to a skating rink that you were going to let people strap blades to their feet and then let all of them, old people, young people, good skaters, bad skaters, speed around a rink. They'd say, no, you can't do that. It would be a catastrophe. You need to plan this. You need to direct them. Be careful.
I better do that.
Slow down over there. Turn right. Turn left. No backward skating.
Something's wrong. It's not working. More people are falling.
You, speed up. You, slow down. Somebody pick that person up.
Maybe I'm just not a very good president. I mean, skating director. What if we elect someone better, someone more qualified, who knows more, like an Olympic gold medalist? What would Brian Boitano do?
You, don't hold hands. Increase your speed twice as fast as you're going.
Even the Olympian, with his vastly greater knowledge, can't make the skating better by being a boss.
You in the black right there. Please move to the outer edge along the rail.
Nobody was listening to him.
I know, nobody was listening because they don't want to. I mean, they want to do their own thing.
Can I hold it?
Sure. BlackBerry Storm, Verizon Wireless.
Oh, whoa. Oh, that's cool. Click it.
That's impressive.
Wicked.
When it comes out, it's going to revolutionize the market.
We saw John McCain so charming and funny last night. At the same time, though, as we heard from John Berman, those what they call robocalls are going out once again with negative attacks on Bill Ayers and Senator Obama. Is this a good idea?
Well, I don't think it's the most important issue. I think the country actually is worried about the economy, and Senator Obama actually gave Senator McCain, I think, the winning issue in his conversation the other day about spreading the wealth. I think if you ask the average American, do you want your government to focus on jobs and economics or on spreading the wealth, overwhelmingly, I think they distrust the idea of politicians deciding how much you're allowed to keep and politicians giving that money to their friends. I think there's a deep divide in this country on that issue. And my guess is that if McCain and Palin focus on whether or not you want politicians taking your money away to give to their cronies, such as Acorn, for example, I think you'll find that he's going to continue to close. Gallup last night had them within 2 points among likely voters, which is a dramatic change from a week ago. So I would say that this race is a long way from over.
We are seeing a lot of different polls out there. Let me bring up Karl Rove, who said it's not cast in stone, but in order to do this, Senator McCain has got to do what he calls thread the eye of the needle. That's how tough it's going to be, and I'll show everybody on the map what he was talking about. He says that of the states George Bush won in 2004, John McCain has got to do this. He's got to get Nevada, Colorado, Missouri, Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. If he can do that, and if he does that, he can still afford to lose Iowa and New Mexico. Do you think at this point that he can make that sweep and thread the eye of the needle, given the polls showing Obama ahead in so many of those states?
No, I don't think you do it that way, and Carl and I have a fundamentally different view of how politics works. I think if John McCain in the next 18 days wins the argument nationally exactly the way Harry Truman did in 1948, and if you get a 4 or 5 point swing nationally, all of a sudden a whole group of states fall his way. I think if you campaign hard enough on the issue of whether or not you want politicians taking away your money to share the wealth with their friends, I suspect Pennsylvania becomes vulnerable, Michigan becomes vulnerable, and you're in a different election.
Let me ask you this, though.
It's a very different model.
But you have kept saying, go back on the economy, stay on the economy. Who is doing the negative campaigning, and why do you think it keeps going on if it is such a distraction?
Well, look, both sides are doing a lot of negative campaigning. The fact is that Senator Obama has done an immense amount of negative campaigning in states like Virginia. I think he bought 1,300 ads to Senator McCain's 8 ads in the last 3 weeks. So both campaigns have consultants who believe in negative advertising. I'm describing something different. The way Harry Truman came from behind, and he was so far behind that they quit polling in September. The way he came from behind was he moved the entire country. The country's paying attention, and I can just tell you, I was in Kansas City and St. Louis yesterday, and people do not want politicians deciding how to redistribute the wealth to their cronies. People instinctively believe that when Speaker Pelosi says we're going to have to take, quote, harsh measures, she's talking about harsh measures with the taxpayer. And I think that if Senator McCain and Governor Palin spend the rest of this campaign focused on whether or not politicians ought to take money away from you and decide how much you're allowed to keep, well, I suspect they win the election.
Again, I have to point out, for fairness this morning, that Senator Obama's campaign says the middle class gets 3 times the tax relief for the middle class than Senator McCain does. But I want to ask you about something you said back at the convention.
Wait a second. I don't notice very often reporters, for fairness, pointing out what Governor Palin said or pointing out what Senator McCain said. The fact is that what Senator Obama said the other night was a Freudian slip, which he shouldn't have said. And he basically said, look, we got to spread the wealth. But who's he talking about? The we here is politicians. But now, the fact is the average American doesn't believe, well, it doesn't matter who you're raising taxes on. The average American doesn't believe that it's a right thing for America to have politicians deciding to spread the wealth to their cronies.
And let me just say, I do point out what Senator McCain says, Mr. Speaker. You know I do. But let me ask you about something you said back at the time of the convention, because at that time, as we know, Governor Palin had a 58% favorable rating, which has now dropped, according to polls, to 32%. And you really talked about her as the future leader of the Republican Party. Let's listen.
I suspect this will turn out to be the strongest possible ticket that we could have fielded this year. Senator McCain has now created a national figure who's young enough that she could well be a leader of this country over the next 2 generations.
We're coming down to 15 seconds. You still agree with that?
Look, she draws huge crowds everywhere she goes. She's a very talented person. And unlike Joe Biden, she didn't claim to go to a restaurant that went out of business in 1986, which is what he claimed in his part of the debate. I'll stick with Governor Palin over Joe Biden.
All right, Mr. Speaker, great to have you with us. And I want everybody out there to go to abcnews.com, because the Speaker has a new documentary out called We Have the Power, about energy in this country. And go take a look at it there.
Ooh, I felt it.
Wow.
Very cool.
That is sweet. And
nice. Wow, that would have been helpful last night.
Yeah, I want to switch.
So what do you think?
I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't have bought my iPhone.
The candidates had a lot of funny things to say about each other, but they also had some very nice things to say about each other. Some real, genuine moments of graciousness. Let's take a listen.
I want to especially say a word of thanks to Senator McCain. We are in the midst of a tough battle right now, and American politics at the presidential level is always tough. But I've said before, and I think it bears repeating, that there are very few of us who have served this country with the same dedication and honor and distinction as Senator McCain, and I'm glad to be sharing the stage with him tonight as I am during the course of this nomination.
In the military, they work pretty hard to impress the chain of command on your way of thinking. And one way or another, on the 4th of November, word will come down from the top